Alright, good morning everyone, welcome back. Anthony from Puget Sound Stormwatch here. And we are talking Storm Talk today. Also, a huge milestone announcement. I've officially hit 24,000 followers on Facebook. Okie doke. Okay, updated on Blue Sky. So link is now on Blue Sky, Facebook. Alright, first two viewers, hello, welcome into the stream. Thank you again for joining. Alright, so we're currently looking at visible satellite imagery. And I don't think there's a clear frontal signature than this right now. Like, it's like you took a butter knife to it and just perfectly sliced it down the middle. So this is what's left of the Sting Jet. The Sting Jet certainly fell apart, even though the pressure deepened overnight. So current pressure is hanging on around 975 millibars at this time. Alright, thank you to the first like. Thank you for liking the stream. Very much appreciated. Yeah, so if we go back in the time here, 6 hours or so. Yeah, that's way too far. That's 24 hours. Okay. And go back a little farther than this. Alright, so this was what we were looking at last night. Textbook Sting Jet bent back occlusion here. And as we go on in time, I would have to assume this is the strong wind shear that's ripping apart the Sting Jet, but don't quote me on that. So you notice over time how the center of low pressure starts to become a little more disorganized. Could be several things like strong wind shear at the center that's ripping this center apart, although the center of low pressure is still extremely strong. Alright, 3 likes already on the stream. Thank you, everybody. And welcome in to those just joining us. Should also be going live on Facebook as well, since we hit 24,000 followers. Special little Facebook only stream for that. Probably aiming for sometime this afternoon. So depending on when I finish up with this live stream. Also notice these too. Lightning strikes within the front showing up on radar. Way off the coast though, but they're there. On the very back edge of this front, when the most unstable air mass comes in behind it. So the fog has burned off. A lot of areas around the sound are enjoying clear skies at the moment. Still a lot of low-level stratus hanging around the Olympics. Some of the area waters. Foothill locations. Strait of Georgia, Strait of Juan de Fuca, along the immediate coast, parts of the Willapa Hills. Then these higher clouds begin to move in, and then that's when the heaviest area of precipitation moves in as well. That's going to be our frontal boundary right here. Then around this time too, if it hasn't already, this area of low pressure is going to become nearly stationary. It's only going to pull a little bit off to the east before it evaporates, as I say, evaporates into nothingness. And let me show you that on the new models coming in. So we're just getting the 12Z fresh off the press, the 12Z European. I need to zoom in just a tad bit more. All right, and then let's switch to surface level pressure, sea level pressure, I mean. And this has it peaking around 5 p.m. at 973 millibars before weakening. Notice it's almost exactly in the same spot, and then really starts to weaken as we go through the afternoon Wednesday. And then it just fizzles, and all of a sudden, boom, collapses in on itself. This is going all the way out into Friday. So we're expecting a breezy, blustery day on Thursday as well. It's because we're still going to have the storm in a semi-favorable spot. It's still going to be there. It's just not going to be nearly as strong as it is right now. It's only going to move probably 100 to 150 miles at most over the next 48 hours. And then models are still showing this ridge filling in as well, which could bring us some more pleasant weather going into the second week of October. This model only renders out to 138 hours right now. We'll get more information once it starts rendering out past 144 or so. Although, once again, take it with a grain of salt. Anything over a couple days out is pure fantasy at this point. It is definitely up for change. Alright, do we have anyone in the chat that wants to ask any questions or bring up any concerns? I am more than happy to answer questions at this time. Still seeing really good short-term agreement on the deterministics and ensembles. Looks like the GFS wants to bring it a little more south. Just a tad bit more south than the European. Then the AI forecasting system. About right in the middle between the European and GFS. Same with the Canadian as well. Pretty good agreement in the short term with the decay of the system. Yeah, the European and the Canadian are neck and neck. Okay, European's up to 192 now. It hasn't rendered these 54 frames, but it is showing a rich signal over the Gulf of Alaska. I'll have to wait for those frames to render as well. Alright, let's look at some cam models. Short-term ones. Yeah, so the NAM 3KM has it fizzling in right around the same spot now. Last couple runs, it had the storm moving into central Vancouver Island. See, this one here, it had it stronger, still a bit potent there at the 0Z. Definitely had it, it's been weakening as we go through the model runs. So this is the 0Z, this is 5 p.m. last night. Had it making landfall around 997 millibars or so in central Vancouver Island. But the 12Z this morning, at the same time, has it around 997 farther west. And then drags it just a little tad bit to the south, a few miles. And then this would be the spot where it fizzles out. Not a real favorable spot for strong winds around here, but definitely favorable for strong winds around the coastal waters and some of the inland waters along the the San Juan Islands as well. Let's go look at some predicted max wind gusts. This is the NAM 3KM high-res model. These are showing max wind gusts on an hourly basis. It has conditions really picking up here around 5 p.m. This is when the front, literally the front of the front, starts to move on in. So these winds will most likely be out of the south most, if not all of the time. I'm realizing now that's a good reason why I'm not seeing a good convergence zone signature as well. Just because of the orientation of this front and the area of low pressure revolving right behind it as well. Doesn't really have a good setup for getting westerly winds around the Olympics into that convergence area down here. Alright. Hey, JS Howard, welcome to the stream. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, so pressure readings are dependent on several variables around here. There's forecasted pressure readings, which are being shown on the models here. This is also a current forecast based on the European model, so this is just an estimation. But in order to see the real readings, you're going to have to look at the coastal buoys in this area. And let me see if I can pull those up real quick. At the very least, I can get readings immediately along the coast, but I'm not sure about farther out right now. So SLP is sea level pressure. Okay. Yeah, these are current observations. Oh yeah. Look at that. That's current. 976.3 millibars of pressure. Way out here at the buoy. That's showing strong wind gusts. So wind speed, this sustained wind speed is 43 miles per hour. Max wind gust 54 miles per hour. Out of the northwest right now. So JS, these wind barbs that you see here, these are in real time, updated every 5 minutes or so. So these are the current ones. 981.2 millibars, a little bit to the northwest of that. In the 1000 to 990 range along Vancouver Island. Still hanging in the 1000 to 1005 range or so off the coast here. So not a real sharp drop in pressure quite yet. The buoy way out here, though, is at 999 and falling. The max gust 45 miles per hour out of the... This is approximately south-south... This is, yeah, south-southeast. A little bit east of south. Okay, so 1003.7. Really weak surface winds right now as you go inland, but kicking up pretty good off the coast. So in relation to the storm now, it looks like this one is going to be the closest buoy way out here. Yeah, it's like right on the money. So the forecast pressure right now is 975 millibars. The observed pressure near the center is 976.3. So pretty good accuracy right there, plus or minus about 1.5 millibars of pressure. Yeah, it's just a clear as day cyclonic spin west of Vancouver Island. So now, in terms of wind, you notice how, for the most part, until after the frontal system and complex moves through, then the winds shift out of the east a bit, and we go back to offshore after that. This is potentially when that ridge starts to build, when we get some more pleasant weather, which we actually don't need right now. We need as much water on these fires as possible. We're getting a lot of help with the Bear Gulch and even the Wildcat fire, but not getting much help for the Sugarloaf and Labor Mountain fires right now. We only got around, I believe, a quarter inch, 2/10 to a quarter of an inch of measurable precip yesterday. So these are sustained winds I'm looking at. So sustained winds of 19 to 21 miles per hour out of the south at 6 p.m. in the southwest interior. Convert that to gusts, and we're pushing areas of 40 to 45 miles per hour all around here in the southwest interior. 50 miles per hour along Hurricane Ridge, pushing 60 here at Cape Disappointment. 42 to 43 for the Tacoma area at 6 p.m. And then you start to move into SeaTac. We get these strong 50 plus mile per hour winds out here in the Salish Sea, eastern end of the Strait of Juan de Fuca, decreasing to 50 miles per hour as winds start to push into Willapa Bay. Still hanging on in the 40 mile per hour range here in Chehalis. 40 miles per hour in Tacoma, 41 at SeaTac, 36 at Painfield, Everett, 34 in Bellingham. And we get a nice surge of winds into Bellingham. These are 45 mile per hour wind gusts at Bellingham at 8 p.m. according to this forecast. But if we compare it to the HER 3KM on the other hand, see, this is the 17Z. It should start to go out far enough. It'll at least cover the frontal passage today, but not much on Wednesday. So this recent model run, same time, 6 p.m., also showing 40 to 42 mile per hour wind gusts in the Olympia to Cowlitz County corridor down here. This one even has 60 miles per hour just outside of Victoria over the open waters. 41 for Tacoma. It doesn't have SeaTac getting nearly as potent wind gusts as the NAM 3KM was showing. And eventually, here in the next hour or so, we're going to start getting the 18Z. So this is going to be the 48-hour run that goes all the way through the entirety of the system. This is just a short-term 18-hour model run, one of the hourly runs on the high-resolution rapid refresh model. This shows parts of the Admiralty Inlet, Salish Sea, Strait of Georgia, Strait of Juan de Fuca, seeing wind gusts 50 to 60 miles per hour at around 6 p.m., plus or minus 2 hours or so for deviations. So anywhere really between 4 to 8 p.m. will be the best chance of seeing strong to damaging wind gusts here in the San Juan Island area. There's also a wind advisory in effect there as well. Let's go see max wind gusts on the last 48-hour run, the 12Z. So this was 5 a.m. this morning. It seems to have definitely let up on any 40-plus wind gusts for SeaTac and vicinity. Down into the 35 to 40 mile per hour range, but I haven't seen any 40 mile per hour range here in the Central Sound or the South Sound really in the most recent runs. Seems to be backing off just a little bit, but still showing good signals from the Nisqually and Cowlitz River valleys. Having some isolated areas of 50 plus here along the county lines. So this predicts 44 miles per hour max for Olympia through Thursday morning, 43 for Chehalis, 40 for Toledo, 36 for Shelton, 42 Bremerton, 37 Tacoma Narrows, 40 for Everett, 44 Skagit County, 46 Bellingham, 59 for waters of Victoria, BC. Check the radar on the HER 3 cam. The radar on the HER 3 cam has been showing some really impressive cell signatures coming through, especially along the coast. It'll be interesting to see if this verifies or if it's even close to nailing these storms. It's getting a lot of posts, comments on Facebook. It even has a lot of this activity hanging around through Thursday morning as well, because remember, this low is not going to be going anywhere for the next 36 hours or so. This model predicts the circulation stays a little bit south of central Vancouver Island. It just keeps rotating in unstable confluence bands of showers and storms as it nears. So this would be the initial front right here. It shows plenty of embedded little broken squalls as well. This would probably be your best chance of seeing lightning or possibly an embedded water spout off the coast as well. These setups like this usually do favor water spout activity off the coast. Especially as it moves in. See all of these little embedded little kinks in the front here. Those are all little squalls, areas of low-level rotation and wind shear. And then it just throws all of these bands of showers and thunderstorms at us continuously as we go through Thursday morning. Albeit the NAM 3 cam's a little more conservative on this. It's less robust on the shower activity. So you notice it does have this circulation, what's left of it at least, pulling a bit to the southeast before starting to decay Thursday afternoon. You notice how the shower activity really starts to cut off here? It does still have an outside storm chance. It doesn't have... See, it still kind of has those rain squalls embedded as well. Just nowhere near as intense as the HER 3 cam's showing. So it's nearly stationary here, and then it starts to take a pull to the southeast. Right about there. Alright, we're at 5 stream likes. Thank you everyone who has liked the stream. If you haven't already, go ahead and ring that bell to get notified of any further streams at a moment's notice. So let's look at simulated infrared. So this is going to predict the cloud tops. And usually you want the really like yellow looking ones, the light green, yellow looking cloud tops. And even the orange ones. These are indicative of colder cloud tops, aka taller clouds, which is indicative of thunderstorms. So there's our frontal boundary coming in. And then the unstable air mass and the isolated showers and storms embedded within the circulation. Let's compare that to what the HER 3 cam is showing for visible satellite. Infrared, excuse me. It's a little sloppy. You can tell there's a few organized areas of convection embedded within the lines of precip here near the low center. It just continuously throws it at us through the day Wednesday. Just looks like kind of a really sloppy setup for storms. We can't get any organized discrete cells going, so we don't really have to worry about anything severe. It's more so just multi-cell clusters or single cells that really don't threaten, like pose any threat to life or property whatsoever. The actual good kind of thunderstorm. The water vapor. 'Cause Yeah, it doesn't really have strong convection here. Initially within the frontal passage. Outside of that, no real strong signs of convection. Maybe some isolated convection here, perhaps. This is tomorrow at midnight. Hey, Sherry, welcome back. When is the chance for possibly a thunderstorm today? Will some happen in the middle of the night? It's a good thing you checked in just now because we're monitoring that at this moment. Let me go to the most recent 17Z and see what it has to say again. So right now, the best chance for thunderstorms for sure is off the coast. But in terms of today, the best chance of any thunderstorm activity is going to be along the immediate coast and inland as far as the Hood Canal, perhaps. The 17Z is picking up maybe perhaps some of this thunderstorm activity moving up I-5 through Olympia. This is midnight. So best chance for us would be a nocturnal thunderstorm threat going into the morning time. So this would be 4 a.m. around the area. This is only one model run, so as I say previously, it should be taken with a grain of salt. Just waiting for the new 18Z to render on the Hertz 3 cam. Although we can see it in the sub-hourly model here in every 15-minute intervals. So this says 4 times as many frames. You can see in clear detail on a 15-minute basis. Not a fan, hoping it doesn't happen. Yeah, to each their own. This shows the Tacoma area, Lakewood, DuPont, Silicon area, possibly getting an outside chance of a thunderstorm around 12:30 overnight. And maybe a rumble of thunder over SeaTac sometime around 1:30 to 1:45. Check out the wind gust swaths here as well. Yeah, so... Alright, Mama Miyamoto, welcome back. I like thunder, not so much lightning because of forest fires. Well, I have great news for you this time around. It's going to be wet thunderstorms if we do have them. So we're not anticipating nearly as high of a fire threat this time around. East of the mountains, definitely a higher threat, but west of the mountains, it looks like we'll be doing just fine. Yeah, I'm still waiting for that 18Z to start rendering. Should start rendering in the next 20 minutes. It'll give us a new refresh look at this. Let me see. I think we're looking at the 12Z on the NAM already. Yeah. So waiting for the 18Z to render on the NAM as well. But the NAM's a lot more conservative on activity. It has wider showers, but nowhere near as intense as what the HER is showing right now. These questions are just flooding in right now. Well, I got to about 90 or so % of my questions overnight and this morning. There were a few that got lost, unfortunately. But I'm hoping they decide to hop in on the stream just to see if they can get their questions answered. Otherwise, it's probably going to be a while before I get everything answered, if I do. And it just keeps on coming in. It's certainly tough as a solo proprietor to, you know, take care of all this business, especially when you have a storm system in the forecast. A lot of misinformation going around as well. Seeing people say, oops. Unfortunately, one of my alarms is busted on my radio, so it goes off at 11:42 every day. Hang on, I'll be right back. Looking out to my west, I can start to see the leading edge of the front along the coast here. I can see some of the stratus, but I do see the higher clouds, the leading edge of these higher clouds. See if we've seen any new lightning in the last hour. Yeah, we had a lightning strike right there. I saw that one for sure. I think we might have had a flash down here somewhere. Not 100%, but we do still have some isolated lightning off the coast. Alright, Sonia, welcome back in. A bit late. That's okay. No problem at all. Yeah, so we're just looking over this deep area of low pressure right now. I also have the observations up here. This is weakened down to 978.5. This is probably just because the center of lowest pressure has moved away from the buoy. It's starting to move a little bit closer to the coast. Yeah, we unfortunately don't have much buoy coverage out where the center of low pressure is right now. Just got busted watching the weather. Haven't we all? Honestly, haven't we all? So 990 out here on the north end of Vancouver Island. The blue numbers up top are pressure in millibars. So 1002.7. This is, I'd like to say, about 10 to 50 nautical miles west of, I think this is James Island. It's either Cape Shoalwater or James Island. Wish the topographic map showed all of the landmarks around here. So yeah, this is Cape Flattery up here. I think this might be Cape Shoalwater down here, perhaps. And I think Point Grenville is way down here somewhere. But yeah, anyways, the nearest buoy out here is down to a 1002.7 millibars and falling. Okay, this is the Destruction Island radar site, observation site, excuse me. Alright, Jaw George, welcome back as well. Still south-southwest incoming. Yeah, so winds will kick up out of the south once this front starts to move onto the coast. So it probably won't start kicking up till around 2 o'clock or so. But winds for the area should peak between about 5 and 7 p.m. So this out here has max gust of 36 right now. Out of the west, due west. Then, yeah, the nearest buoy is... yeah, the area of low pressure is probably well east of that buoy right now. by the looks of it. And trying to just kind of scale these real fast. It's close, but I think the center of low pressure is a little bit east of this buoy. Yeah, since it's out in these open waters where there's not much buoy coverage, it's going to be really difficult to tell what the exact center of pressure is right now. But the models have been really close. So at least the European right now shows the center of low pressure at 975 millibars and steady. And for anyone watching that's not on my Facebook, I did hit 24K followers this morning. Seeing an update too as well that the so-called blob of warm water off the Pacific coast has finally started to cool a bit. So we're already forecasted for a La Nina in the southern Pacific, which is cooler ocean waters along the southern Pacific. If we can get the cooler waters up here as well in the northern Pacific, this could really help enhance our cooler and wetter winter possibly coming up as well, which in theory could help with snow chances. Going to share this to my Facebook story. If you guys follow Puget Sound Storm Watch on Facebook, I just posted an update to my story. Congrats on the Facebook. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. I just wish Facebook paid better, honestly. Really, really tight finances right now. Okay, let's go back and refresh these real fast. Yeah, it's pretty easy to tell approximately where the general area of low pressure is, because you want to follow the wind barbs and see where the wind barbs rotate about an approximate center. For example, this one shows winds out of the northwest. This one shows winds out of the south. These ones are all showing winds out of the southeast. While the one to the northwest is showing winds out of the northeast. Therefore, you have this counterclockwise spin somewhere in here. That means that you can narrow down the area of low pressure somewhere within this oval right here. Of course, this is where the modeling comes in handy because the modeling can show you approximately what the sea level pressure is. And of course satellite, because you can tell exactly where it is, clear as day on satellite. So some of those post-frontal high clouds coming onto the coast right now, still trying to burn off a lot of this low-level stratus between Tacoma and Olympia. We had some pretty dense fog this morning as well. I was surprised to see that. That fog has since burnt off around the Puget Sound area. I am Julie. Mama Miyamoto is my son's handle. Okie doke. Let's go refresh the weather station down the street. We had 0.01 inches of rain since midnight. This is exactly the point where the fog started to burn off. So extremely saturated, nearly 100% humidity near the surface, and then around this point in time, around 10:14 or so, you really start to increase that temperature and that dew point begins to decrease. And this is when the fog burns off. So the fog is fully burnt off by around 11 or so. And winds been consistently out of the east for most of this morning. Rain started falling right around 7 o'clock. And it was just 0.01 inches. Overall, next couple hours should be pretty pleasant. Except if you're west of Olympia, really. Alright, where's my option to change the model at? Not sure where it went. Let's check on reported wind. Yeah, so this is pretty close to that buoy. If that might actually be the buoy just south of the low center right here. So this currently, let me see if I can see the pressure on here. I don't think I can. But yeah, you notice here, it's fascinating to see the graphics, very much so. You notice here, within the cold front here, winds coming out of the approximately south-southeast, 34 miles per hour, gust 45. And then as you revolve around the low pressure center, you notice how the wind barb shifts to a little bit more out of the east, and then more out of the northeast on the northwest quadrant, and then out of the northwest as you get down towards the center of the bent back occlusion here. It would be really helpful if they had a lot more buoys out here, but sadly they just don't. And my page froze again. But yeah, windy.com does have some really nice graphics. We can even go to wind speed, surface wind speed. Okay, there we go. There's my models. So I just can't change the forecast on the satellite imagery. Turn off additional layers. Seeing some new lightning strikes about 100 to 150 miles off the coast right now. We're starting to see some of these prefrontal showers pop up on the coastal radar as well. Yeah, these are surface level winds. Clear as day. Textbook cold front right there. Winds out of the south for the most part. Jeremy, welcome in. Says heading to Winthrop in North Cascades, October 10th through 12th. Any weather updates you could help with? Well, we're looking pretty far into the long range, but suppose I can help give you a little bit of guidance. The European 12Z is all the way out to 360 hours. So let's try to figure this out here. So for 10th through 12th, there's indications that we could get some rain around the Central Sound, Foothills, and Central Cascades. Not looking like too much over the North Cascades Pass, though. And models are showing it staying dry for the rest of the period. So you may have some rain, maybe a little bit of wind going over the pass, but it shouldn't be any sort of hazard to you. Yeah, it's showing a little bit of rain sometime between 11 a.m. and 11 p.m. on Friday the 10th. But not much more after that. So really, after this system moves on through, we have kind of a slight rain signal Friday into Saturday. And after that, we don't really have any more good rain signal until the 10th or 11th of October. So, yeah, Jeremy, hopefully that helped you. Maybe another little breezy, windy event around the 10th as well. Yeah, the European doesn't show that ridge hanging around long. Tries to reestablish itself, but then a trough swings through. And then just multiple troughs trying to swing through during that time as well. Let's go read the recent forecast discussion. Also, the high surf advisory has been continued for the coast, which means this remains in effect until 5 a.m. on Thursday. So 15 to 18 feet breaking waves along the north and central coast, including Clallam, Jefferson, and Grace Harbor counties. We also have a wind advisory in effect for the same area as well as San Juan County. Wind gusts 45 to 50 miles per hour expected inland. It says a frontal system will move through the area this afternoon into Wednesday, bringing widespread rain, breezy to gusty winds, and a slight chance of thunder across the area. As the front moves across the region this afternoon, breezy to gusty winds will be noticeable throughout the interior, especially areas along the coast and the north interior. Wind advisory continues to be in effect for the coastal areas, along with San Juan County. This gusts of 25 miles per hour will be likely throughout the rest of the interior. I feel like that's underdoing it quite a bit. I think the NWS is trying to be a little more conservative than what the models are showing. Additionally, latest model runs have continued to suggest a 20 to 30% chance of thunder this evening, primarily along the coast with a lower chance within the interior. 5 to 10% chance of thunder for the interior lowlands today. Thunder chances will increase over the Olympics and the interior Wednesday evening. 30 to 40% chance of an isolated thunderstorm or two along the coast and Olympics, and increases to a 15 to 20% chance over much of the interior. So non-zero, but also not great. Then another thing of interest, ensemble forecasts continue to point towards a drying trend heading into the weekend and into early next week, as a weak ridge attempts to build offshore. Uncertainty still exists on when this ridge builds. Yeah, here's an update on the inland advisories currently in effect. Wind advisory for San Juan County, effective at 2 p.m., lasting through 11 p.m. High surf advisory from 11 a.m. this morning to 5 a.m. Thursday for the coast of Grace Harbor, Jefferson, and Clallam counties, as well as a wind advisory that has gone into effect as of 11 a.m. for Grace Harbor County, Jefferson County, and Clallam counties facing the coast. So wind advisory is currently in effect, as well as a high surf advisory for the immediate coastline. Wind advisory goes into effect at 2 p.m. for San Juan County. So coastal buoy here has dropped down to 998.7 millibars and falling. Strong winds out of the south-southeast. I'm amazed how many people are starting to call this a bust already, and it hasn't even started. Just a reminder that no matter how well you think you communicate something, it's not well enough for everybody, and it never will be. Just how it is. But that's also what makes the job fun, too. See that buoy with a camera northwest of Ocean City on the coast, 33.5 mile per hour gusts. Yeah, so the European has a 975 millibar low. The GFS has it at 977. The icon, this is the German model. The German has it at 976. It cuts off where the HER 3KM covers. Then right around 982 to 980 on the high resolution Canadian model. Yeah, these are winds at 18,000 feet. But we're focused mainly on surface winds here. Some people only want highlights and some of us dig knowledge. Yes, and my mission is to be right in the middle. To be the best of both worlds and offer both. That's why a lot of people only wanted a summary rather than in-depth discussions for my posts. So you know what I did? I added a TLDR section to the bottom of all of my longer posts. Anything that's longer than one paragraph gets a TLDR summary at the bottom of it. And seems to have really helped appease a lot of the people with shorter attention spans. Exactly, yes, very well said. Let's go back to visible satellite. Yeah, still seeing some lightning in the back end of this front. But a lot of this lightning activity back here should begin to pull in a bit to the north. The center of low pressure there, clear as day. Do see some areas of convection here. So you notice these little mushroom cloud tops here. These are likely areas of rising air within the colder, unstable air mass behind this front. So we'll have to watch those for thunderstorms as they move inland as well. Waiting to see when we can get a better radar image of these frontal showers right now, because it's hard to tell if there's any breaks in the line where there could be waterspout activity just based off of satellite imagery. Yeah, it's just that hair too far off the coast still. Okay, I'm going to go take a water break real quick. This will be a few minutes probably. I am going to leave this radar image, this satellite image up on the screen. And I will be back shortly. So thank you guys for your patience. All right, everyone. Thank you for your patience. We are back in action. Up to 9 likes on the stream at the moment. Thank you guys for sharing very much. 49 total views. Okay, everyone. Anyone watching, do we have any questions, comments, or concerns? Just here in a short while, I do have to wrap it up. Go and check on my dogs because they're gonna be by themselves for a little bit. So to be over there for a little bit, and then I'll probably fire up my Facebook live stream after that. For anyone just tuning in, we're just looking at visible satellite. Oh, excuse me. We're just looking at visible satellite at the moment, keeping our eye on surface observations. Not seeing any new updates to the buoys at the moment. It's saying this one was valid at 11 a.m., so this one hasn't been refreshed in over an hour. And that one doesn't have a refresh time on it. This one's 11:40. I think it's just because the buoys update slower than the rest of the inland stations. Yeah, this one's 11:40. Keep disappointment, wind gust 28 out of the southeast. Wind is pretty much stagnant around the inland right now, the inland areas of the Puget Sound. A little bit breezy the farther south you go. But in terms of anything impressive, nothing yet inland. Still just gotta wait for that front to come on shore. Then things should really start to get interesting after that. So European model still has it at 975 millibar central pressure. To see if the 18Z models are rendered yet. Yep. At least out to 23 hours so far. Alright, yeah, so it has frontal passage time at about 4 p.m. for Tacoma, 5 p.m. for Seattle. Then the post-frontal showers and embedded storms immediately come on the coast within the next hour or two after that. Yeah, it's showing some activity here around southern Whidbey Island, going into parts of northwestern Snohomish County. This is at 5 a.m. tomorrow, so there's definitely a chance of a nocturnal storm threat to our west. And then these showers and storms start to spread inland as we go through the morning tomorrow. Alright, let's go look at the NAM, see what the NAM has to say. And NAM's right around the same time on the frontal passage, nowhere near as intense on the post-frontal showers. Yeah, the NAM's definitely on the lower end of the spectrum. This has most of the showers and storms only moving onto the coast at 2 a.m. Thursday. So much later than what the HER 3KM's showing. I don't show this too often, but this is the experimental model, the RRFS. The one that's set to take over for the NAM in the next year or so. See what it has to say. Has a lot of storm activity around the sound at 6 p.m. tomorrow. Yeah, one thing I noticed about this model is it's a little bit too robust sometimes on storm coverage. Usually it overdoes storms from what I've seen. But we shall see how this verifies. Really interesting to see what the models do and don't get right with this setup. It's our fronts a couple hours away from making landfall on the South Washington coast. Probably start to see showers ahead of the front sometime around 1:30 this afternoon. That is along the southern coast. Just checking a few of my tabs here. It's probably going to be a while before these buoys update. Let's look at some fire updates while we're passing the time, too. I'm going to start wrapping things up around 12:30 or so, because I have to go over to my parents' house, check on the dogs. And I'll come back hopefully in time for around the 4 or 5 p.m. Facebook stream tonight. The accuracy of some models vary depending on the type of activity. 100% absolutely. Each model has their own bias for each sort of hazard. It would be a lot of detail to go into right now just because there's a lot that goes into it. But usually, depending on if you're using a short-term, mid-term, or long-term model or ensemble, one is always favored over the other, and it doesn't always line up with the event as well. It's usually always random. I notice sometimes, a lot of the time, when it comes to short-term stuff, the European does pretty well on it. Even though the European's a deterministic and not one of those short-term convective allowing models, like the HER or NAM or RRFS that you see here. Speaking of that, let's see what it shows your max wind gusts on the new HER. Very similar story from what I'm seeing. This continues to kind of push the wind gusts back a little bit. It's probably starting to account for some of the deviations in the storm motion and how it slows down and starts to degrade off the coast. It's probably starting to take some of those factors into account. Still showing 40 to 42 for I-5 in Thurston and Lewis counties right now, but it's down under 30. It's a little under 40 miles per hour now for Tacoma and area. And it doesn't have much more than 32 to 33 for SeaTac. Still has some pretty high winds, but it starts to push the max wind gusts a bit north of Victoria, BC now. Still has it pretty blustery, but a little bit on the lower end of things now. The NAM 3KM now is starting to sort of supersede it for wind speeds. Originally, the HER 3KM was starting to supersede the NAM for max wind gusts, but now the NAM's superseding the HER for max wind gusts. So it's still showing a 45 mile per hour range as of the new. Okay, no, so this is not the new. Still taking some time for that 18Z to kick off. I was like, okay, hang on. Something's not right here. Yeah, so still waiting for the new 18Z NAM to come out. We're still basing it on the 12Z. 18Z HER is initialized, and yeah, it shows these numbers for around Western Washington. So perhaps a few higher spots. Hurricane Ridge, north flank of the Olympics, going down to Highway 101 near Discovery Bay. Parts of Mount Rainier National Park in that 50 to 60 mile per hour range. 50 plus for a much more shallow area of the Nisqually now, compared to what models were showing previously. Still some areas of 50 to 60 here in the Salish Sea, on the outskirts of the Strait of Georgia. Let's move this red dot farther north as time goes on. And of course, still seeing 60 plus along the coast as well. Some 50 plus working its way onto the coast, but not very far. So this currently shows max of 31 miles per hour for SeaTac, 36 for Everett, 43 for Bellingham, 38 for the Tacoma area, 42 Olympia, 40 for Chehalis, 39 for Hoquiam. Okay, doke, folks. Time is 12:29. I'm gonna open it up to any last-minute comments, questions, or concerns for you all. This should be my only live stream on YouTube today. We'll be hosting an additional live stream on Facebook later on for 24K followers. Usually host a celebration live stream every 1,000 followers. Because it's the last day of September, the last day to rake in any donations or revenue overall. So I'm just trying to make sure I'm in a good spot for October, because right now things are not looking great financially. So I do appreciate all the kind words, everybody. Thank you all again for tuning into the stream. Sonia says thank you, and Mama Miyamoto also says thank you. Yes, thank you all again for coming back to the stream. Depending on how things go, I may also have a YouTube stream tomorrow as well, possibly Thursday. Just depending on how things are going around here. Comments are still just pouring in rapidly. Yeah, so I'm gonna go spend a few hours at my parents' house. Then I'll come back, get ready to stream here. Take one last look at the satellite real quick. Seeing some of these low clouds being pushed out by the front. I noticed sun has gone away around here in Tacoma, so all these little prefrontal low clouds, and then the high clouds are crossing into the Chehalis River Valley right now. So the rain probably won't start until the back end of the front comes through, which is where we've been seeing some lightning over time. There's definitely some areas of convection back here, especially on the south side of the Sting Jet over here. Yeah, so anyways, guys, I'm going to head out of here for the day. We'll probably see you guys tomorrow, depending on how things go. At the very least, I will likely be streaming on Facebook tonight ahead of this thing. Sometime around the time the front starts moving on shore. This is around the time the wind should start picking up, so about 5 or 6 p.m. for most of Western Washington. Thank you guys so much. Have a great afternoon. I'll see you guys for the next stream. Take it easy, everyone.